Hey YouTube, let's try and not mind how sexy this video is or how much this lighting makes my ears stick off my head. Our power went out and we overdid it with the wood stove. So we've already done the inside of this hoof, which just leaves the tendon on the outside. Pretty much the same process, as you'll see. First thing you're gonna need is a skinning knife. And if you're skinning without an outdoor edge, you might wanna have a look at this wonderful product. The one that we're using today is the Razor EDC Lite 3.5. Check the video description for a link for more info. Starting with the underside already done, just to explain a little bit of anatomy of where the tendons lie. Tendon will run right through here. Stages are fur, skin, fascia tissue, tendon, and whatever bit of meat's around it. How a lot of people like to do is they like to go in and feel for that tendon and then try and cut under it. But you do risk severing the tendon that way, and you want as much as this as possible because they aren't actually that long. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a slight exploratorial cut. We've got the tendon raised here. Just go right underneath. And then you can just cut right along the bottom, raising the tendon as you go. You can have a look in there. You can't really see it, but it's in there. I guess I should also point out you can see the tendon from this side, this little bit of fleshiness that travels down. Now that you've got that incision made, just reach in, make sure and feel the bone in there rather than the tendon. Raise the tendon up and just keep it pulled up and cut away from yourself, going up the top to where the joint was that you've severed. Now from what you've pulled back, if you've cut properly along the bone, you can see the tendon isn't there. You should be able to just pull the tendon out like that. And then sometimes just grabbing the skin and pulling down, and then just cut through the silver skin or fascia tissue to free up and get down to as much of this as you can. It's funny sometimes wanting to get in there with your teeth. You can just cut directly against the bone without damaging anything. And these knife blades are durable enough to take a bit of that. They are also replaceable, so you don't have to worry about sharpening while you're skinning. And they are also sharpenable. So you've got a lot of options with these knives. They're fairly cheap. And yeah, replacement blades aren't too expensive. Apologies for all the shadow. Do the bottled water trick like you saw in our Halloween special. So you still got some searching to do down the rest of this leg. We're just gonna follow the hairline along on the side here. Just wanna open it up and get a look in there. Again, the fascia tissue holding it together a little bit. Around the hooves, just like skinning the face is good practice because it's a little bit tougher and you really get to, as a novice, understand the fascia tissue, all the other connective tissues and stuff, tendons, how everything works. And there you can see where the tendon is splitting off a little bit. And this part's a little bit tricky. Apologies, we shut the camera down there for a second. As I said, our power is out. We do have our River 2 EcoFlow all ready to do some charging, but I'd like to keep with this process as we're going. There, I don't know if you can see that, but that's where the tendon splits off right there. Let's give it a bit of a tug. As I say, sometimes it'll give in. The lack of light while doing this isn't the greatest either, so excuse my taking so long. This is where it gets tricky, right at the knuckle. A lot of people just stop here. But again, enjoying the practice. But I guess I do have to consider our battery life, so let's cut this short. And there you go. There's your section of tendon. You can cut some of this off as well, just clean it up, like dressing a knot. And then this guy will just come up over here within this creepy shot and join its brothers and sisters in its drying sequence. I'm just going to take this, hit this little button, throw that in there for some social cleansing. And we're dried out and ready to go. Slightly distracted by the balloon's westerly descent, we ended up chasing it into the city and stopped in at the Oddities convention. We had to stop it anyway because we lent our ham radio spare to a guy we used to know who just kind of decided to keep it. Successfully. So here we are back in our city studio, radio in hand and a little more hydro reliant. So once these guys are dried, they're as hard as, well, tendon. Given this, you need to break these guys down into fibers. And traditionally, you would just do this with a couple of rocks, but we're in the city, so we're going to keep things a little more modern and break out our mortar and pestle. Easier to take and use the back of this guy because it's a flat surface. Grab your tendon and piss off the neighbors. And you just kind of want to keep working at this stuff and pounding away at it, breaking down its harder compound until you get into these more so pliable fibers, going from this to this, just pulling all of this apart, making it into strands. It's a fair bit of work, but that one tendon brought us down to this handful of strands. Now you can take this stuff and spool it into a sinew thread, which is basically worth its weight in silver. We brought with us our boar's tooth that was a keepsake from our trip to Guerrero, Mexico. Check the link in the corner for that video. It was given to us by our jungle guide. And though it doesn't need it, you can see that it's been solidified and capped off with some pitch there and some micro cordage. We're gonna add some sinew just to dress it up and make it look a little bit more primeval and visceral. We're just gonna take this one strand and pry it apart here. Make it into two. And what you want to do is you take it and you want to break it down a little bit with some mastication and let the saliva take away the remaining stiffness. This is mule deer, so it's a bit more gamey, but you get used to it. It's not going to kill you. Now that you've got it all loosened up, you can see that it's extremely pliable. The interesting thing is that when you wrap this, you don't need to tie it at all. You just kind of get it on there, and it's wet from your saliva and everything, so it just sort of sticks. The super interesting thing about this stuff is that as it dries on the surface you're wrapping it on, it tightens back to its original form and becomes super tight, almost like a gluey substance. Ergo, horsehoof glue. Ideal for arrow nocks on arrow shafts, as well as fletchings on arrows. All kinds of stuff that First Nations would use this for, dating all the way back to the Paleolithic period and other cultures and such. There we go, all dried and tied. Rather than having to break this stuff down in the field, we're going to take a small container, in this case our Icebreakers Sours container, and we're just going to grab this stuff and toss it in there so that we can carry it with us and pull some out when needed.